Well, hello there and welcome. My name is Kylie Patchett and I'm your host, and welcome to the Wild and Finally Fucking Free podcast. This show is all about sharing the real and raw stories from women who have undergone midlife metamorphosis, taken a leap of faith, or broken the ties that bind them in patterns of staying stuck, small, and like their needs don't matter. You see, I believe that the years leading up to and during menopause are a rite of passage, a deep invitation after so many years of giving our time, attention, and energy to others to carve out the same time, energy, and attention in ourselves, in our health, our love, our connection, our vitality, our purpose, our real needs and deep desires. You know, those ones lying dormant underneath all the duty, responsibility, pushing, striving, and achieving of our 20s and 30s? You see, at this stage in our lives, we find ourselves shifting identity potentially, no longer caring as much what other people think, and left wondering why on earth we have not given ourselves permission to do life in the way we truly want to. In this show, I speak to the women brave enough to truth talk their own midlife shedding skin stories, and the healers and helpers who help them transition through these crossroads of change. This is the midlife magic you didn't even know you needed, and I am so freaking glad you found us. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Wild and Finally Fucking Free. See, I swear before you even get to. I have got the beautiful Ann Marie from Hot Flash Ink with me. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
Oh, I'm so good. I'm just so excited about our conversation because there's so many things that I want to dive into with you. So I've been looking forward to this one for quite some time. So welcome. Now, many people that are already in the menopause/perimenopause space will already know of you and the work you do in the world. But do you want to introduce yourself, your background, but also how the heck you became specialized and have now got a global community all wrapped around menopause?
Okay, well, I'm a journalist. I'm from Canada, and I had
Yes.
about half of my career in Canada as a columnist and a trends writer, and it's focused on health and wellness. And then in 2008, I moved to Abu Dhabi to work on the launch team for a newspaper over here. So I did that for about 9 years, and I got into becoming an editor, and then I became a freelancer. And around 47, realized that I was in perimenopause. And all my life I'd written about everything that I'd gone through, like in my 30s, I was single and dating, and I wrote about that. I've written about, often less so over here, but still, I was very interested in sustainability. So I was the first sustainability columnist. No one was recycling. Everyone thought I was crazy.
Before your time.
Yeah. Like I was taking my boxes down to this place by the ocean, and everyone was like, what are you doing? But so I've always written about myself. And then at around 47, I realized that the last 5 years of mayhem, I twigged because I missed a period, and I was like, okay, this is actually perimenopause. I had read a chapter of a book at 45 to prepare myself for menopause, which I thought would be, 12 years down the road, or maybe at 60. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what you think, you think menopause is, right? Like it's not you, it's not happening to you.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So when I accepted it, I did what I always do it's a very basic thing when I get interested in a subject is I just make Google alerts for it. This is like a very simple thing, just so I can see what's out there and not have to go look for it all the time. And if it's just kind of, I'm paying attention to these Google alerts. It's obviously not all of the information, but it's like really terrible. It's just really to me in, I guess this is 2017, 2018. It's just awful. It's like fear-based stuff. It's terrible content, like just written for SEO with like vaginal dryness in it 25 times. Freelancer.com kind of content, or content that people were doing to sell products, because you have to have content to do anything. You have to, which is one of the things keeping journalists in business these days. But I just started thinking, how could the way I come to content, the way I come to what the information I want about this is not out there. And I could do so much with this. I know that there's just so much there. And I was just learning about it. And I started saying to people, everyone said, oh, there's not enough, or, and then when I was researching it, I just realized that it was going to sort of crack open. You could just sort of see that it was, I felt that it was the next frontier after Me Too and Time's Up, if women just the period stuff was happening. And So I just started a newsletter in COVID because I lost a couple of freelancing contracts and I had some time, and then it's taken over my life because like any topic I become interested in, you scratch the surface of it and it is multitudes,
so many
multitudes. And then I'm going through it still in the most epic perimenopause of all time. And I'm in it now. I'm in this hot flash ink now. This is where we're going.
Strap yourself in, people.
Yeah.
I just love, so there's so many things that I want to talk about. I think let's zoom back to what you just said about, at, what did you say, 47, you think, okay, I've missed a period. Maybe this is, but then you said, then I look back over the last 5 years and I go, oh, it has been happening. Can you talk a little bit more about that? What had been happening that you didn't connect? Because I think that is a very common experience.
Yeah. And a lot of women talk about this around 42, maybe 41, 42. And, everything is so difficult to separate from what else is going on in your life. Right.
Exactly.
And I have always been a person who has struggled with gut issues and emotional highs and lows, anxiety and depression. And I never called myself that. But when I look back, this is definitely what was going on with me. So that was always going on. But around 42, 41, like things got really weird. Like I started having like really big panic. Like I started having, I'd say a couple of panic attacks, and I started having nightmares, really strange nightmares where
interesting.
I would wake up in the middle of the night, like, like in a movie or something. And the nightmare was that I was on a pill that was keeping me alive. And I had forgotten to take it. I needed a pill to take a pill every day to keep me alive. And I had forgotten to take it for a couple of days. That was the nightmare. That's what I woke up to. So sometimes I would be like rummaging in my bedside table. I'd be on my hands and my knees. It was like, and at the time when I'm telling you this is crazy. This is insane. But to me, like, I didn't know what was happening. So I had that probably for a year, and then I wouldn't be able to get back to sleep. And then I had a lot of heart palpitations and a lot of just weird feelings, tingling. And I was always asking people, like, do you ever get tingling in your hands? They'd be like, oh, like that sounds like serious. You should go to
that's what everyone's MS.
So I developed pretty bad health anxiety, which I said I guess I've always kind of had, because my mom died she got pancreatic cancer and died pretty suddenly. And in my family, there have been some big things, and I'm a journalist. So you see the worst, you write about the person who, the worst case scenario of like, she thought it was one thing and then it ended up being
something
dying tomorrow, But that whole 5 years, I probably saw 12 doctors. There was a night I woke up with deep chest pain, and I Googled it, and it was down my arm, and they took me really seriously, called an ambulance. I had a whole cardio workup, totally fine.
Yeah.
I got really, really terrible headaches, like maybe not migraines, but like the worst tension headaches. And I went to the hospital a couple of times for those, had MRIs, like no one's, I developed adrenal exhaustion at 42 because of this anxiety that I got. I was like working out like crazy, because that's what I always did to manage my anxiety. So,
of course.
Just double down on like strict eating, diet, workout. Like, I mean, like Bikram yoga 5 nights a week, like classes, and then Bikram yoga. Like 3 to, you know what I mean? Like I'm talking punishing crazy. That's how I'd wrangle myself.
I do know what you mean. So I have been there.
Like insane. Like, and then I would look at my schedule I would make for myself and feel like, okay, like I'm on top of all of this,
There's a semblance of control.
Yeah. And then around that time, things sort of fell apart because I had a relationship that was cracking up. And then a family member back home developed a really serious illness, and it was just too much. And all my eyelashes fell out. And I was like falling asleep at 4:00 and waking up at 2:00. And like, so I went around to a bunch of doctors, ended up at a naturopath. Even she didn't say, and I'm not saying my eyelashes fell out because of perimenopause. I'm just saying like things were going awry. And I probably saw 12 doctors and not one mentioned perimenopause, but also I might've known, I'm a health and wellness journalist, but I didn't know. So looking back on all of this craziness, I'm like, this all sounds pretty standard, right?
Yeah,
the sleep
it
issues,
does.
the first stage of perimenopause, like your sleep becomes a problem, the terrible anxiety out of nowhere, the fear, just ripping fear. Like I would just be sitting somewhere and just have ripping fear come through me. Like I remember my dad took me to I was home visiting and the World Figure Skating Championships were on in my hometown, which is my dream to go to the World Figure Skating Championships. They're always in Japan. Who would I go with? I just thought it was nothing that would ever happen. But my dad's like bought me tickets. We go to the freestyle, free skating. And I'm sitting there. And this is just an example of what would happen to me on a regular basis. Just a rippling sheet of anxiety that I took my niece to daycare that morning, but I hadn't taken her. I'd left her in the car. I hadn't taken her in. And so, of course, I'd taken her in. I took her in. I took her for a little suka, whatever.
Yes.
And just the whole probably 4 hours I was sitting there watching it, I was just arguing with myself. Like, I want to ask I'm sorry about that. I want to ask my brother if the car's there, if there's no, like, this all sounds insane when I'm describing it to you, but these kinds of things were really happening to me regularly. And I was just sort of living in my own mind of like, a sort of state of like constant horror, but just like, and then trying to talk to my friends and say, does this ever happen to you? And my friends were all younger. So
that's not helpful. That is not helpful. I'm just listening to you. Great. I'm listening to so many things and I'm going, yep, had that. Actually woke up. I have a husband who's very often on call. So away in the middle of the night. And last night, I was just saying to you before we started recording, a horrible night's sleep, partially because I had one ear open because he was at a big fire and I was just aware. So I usually have zero anxiety. He's been doing this for 10 years, zero anxiety about him, about how safe he is, about the weather conditions, like nothing. It's just what he's always done. The last year, if he's at something like that, I'm like, almost unbearably unable to calm myself down. And it's exactly how and I woke up at 3:30 this morning, woke up with that you just, that real, and then whacked my hand on his side of the bed. He's not there. And I'm like totally go into like the worst case scenario. And I'm like, what the fuck is
out of nowhere, right? What you could handle before, no problem, just become, and it's real. This is the problem with all of any of this that happens to you is it's always connected to something real.
Yeah.
But a year before or 2 years before, that would have been a mild, like, I'm sure it's fine.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's hormonal. I mean, the difference is, and once, I don't know. I just feel like I really needed some progesterone. I know. I really feel like that would have helped everything if I'd known.
Actually, I'm on progesterone and that's not helping me.
Not helping? Oh,
no, okay. It actually does hugely help my sleep and hugely help my ability to buffer stress. It's just those single things, the like things that could actually be a danger tip me over the edge. Whereas before I was freaking out about even just driving somewhere or whatever. That's all fine now. But yeah, I'm listening to you. I'm just like, yep. And you say like, you're a medical journalist. I'm a biologist by training. I didn't see any of this coming. Not that I'm a geneticist, not a perimenopausal, none of that. But like I've studied the human body and I didn't I'm embarrassed to say I was completely blindsided. And I think similarly, actually I'm the youngest in a couple of my friend groups, but by like a decade. And so now I'm like, did you go through all of these things? And they're like, oh yeah, that happened to me. And I'm like, why were you not talking about it? But 10 years ago, it was even less understood that was all linked to, like, one of them said to me last weekend, I just got put on massive doses of antidepressants and anxiety medication. And as we well know now, like, the hormonally shifting mental health end of things, that would not normally be how, medicine would look at that these days. But then normal to be whacked on, automatically just put some medication on the top of it.
It still happens. But okay, two things. Like, I don't know that you talk to very many people about these intimate things, right? Like, because you don't want to seem crazy. You never want to seem crazy. Yeah. And so when I would mention it, it would be far and wide. And then I would get, the response I would get would mean I wouldn't mention it again to anyone in a long time. So you're just it's just percolating in your brain and becoming bigger. And that's a big problem. So that's why I'm glad way more people know. But also, isn't something else going on? Like, nothing's in isolation and you're hitting I'm doing this like subconscious mind training course right now.
Ooh, I love
But
it.
they were saying that midlife, like a lot of financial things that happen in midlife are just like everything's coming together and you're realizing like, wow, I'm not going to be able to work at the same pace that I have till now.
Yes.
See, that's why you become concerned about money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course. And then I was like, of course I'm more worried about money now because I've been feeling not great and I could always just work and make money, but now I'm concerned about and so that's just hit the road, right? Like those two things have just hit together. But also in midlife, like, that something could happen to your husband. And then that something will, and that I don't want to.
No, that's fine.
something will has to happen to your husband. It's very likely that in the course of your life together,
eventually, yes,
you will lose him, like he will lose you. These are the horrible, beautiful truths of our lives. And so can you really pull it apart? Like, is it purely hormonal? Like, I don't know. Like, this is what I spent in that 5 years. I'm almost grateful for them. It would have been nice to know that I had it. I would have been nice to know that would have been nice to have progesterone, but I spent a lot of time. I went to therapy, I spent that's when I started working on trauma.
Yes.
The things that were, and I always call this age in the 40s, like there was a lid on a pot and it's just like, when you're in, it's like it's about to boil over. It's just like, and men go through this too. I was dating someone who was having a lot of trouble and I said, how come it wasn't like this before? And he said, well, the vault wasn't full. And I thought that was really interesting that he said it that way. This isn't a guy who's like spiritual or anything. He's just, he's a really cool guy. And he said the vault wasn't full. He's 43. So, it's perimenopause, it's hormones, and it's the accumulation of our life. And it's the descending of this knowing. I don't know. Absolutely. I don't know how you pull it all apart.
Yeah. How do you pull it all apart? And I think that it is too easy to say, oh, that was perimenopause. This is perimenopause. Like,
but it is.
There is, well, I'd like to say it is because then by definition, at some stage, maybe it might shift.
No, it does.
Maybe.
Listen, no, it does.
This is why I've actually become quite obsessive about inviting people that are, what did you say? You said you're in your
menomester.
Menomester, that's it. So menomester.
It's the last half of, I think, I hope this is the thing. You start hoping because it start out as like, I don't want to go through menopause. Then you're like dying to go through menopause. So now I'll be heartbroken if I get my period. I am looking forward to August 25th. That will be my Meno celebration day. So I can tell you that stuff passes truly.
Yeah. This is why I'm really wanting to speak to more women in the menomester or beyond, because I think what we do most need to know is, it's really messy. And I do agree with you. There's a purpose to all of this. There's a very real reckoning that happens about, the things that we haven't done in our life that maybe we can never make that choice because of whatever, because of the choices that we have made. Or, if not before now, we start losing people and we start, dealing with aging parents. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, one of your podcasts where you share, and actually just before I say that, zooming out to say, this is what I love about the work that you do in the world and the conversations I'm having and all the other people that are working in this space where these are more common conversations. So hopefully, please God, there's no one listening to this who is then going, I'm losing my marbles when they have similar experiences. It's like, oh, hang on. I did hear once that someone said this, so that there's that awareness piece, because I definitely felt very early on, I've talked about this a lot. I was just swinging from like, I want to rip someone's face off to bawling and back again in the space of like 2 seconds. And I'm like, what is going on? And I have significant mental health history in my family. So I automatically went to, I'm just about to have a psychotic break, or I'm getting, just like worst case and catastrophizing, which I think is part of it. Falling off the confidence cliff and then catastrophizing. They're the two things that have been really true to me. Something you were sharing on your podcast recently, you were talking about how you're talking about that you do yin yoga sometimes to help you with sleep, which I absolutely love. And you were saying it's quite normal for these big emotions to come to the surface, and it's like, well, kind of like what you're saying with the pot boiling over. And it's just like, oh, And you had this memory of like quite a traumatic event that had happened when you were traveling solo. When you were 30, I want to say. Am I
31. I was 31.
Yeah. So can you talk a bit about that? Because I don't think that bit is spoken about too much. Is that like the trauma or the big feelings that are all encompassing coming to the surface?
Yeah. And I believe, your head is your body, your brain is your body, your body is your brain.
Yeah.
That took me a long time to realize, even though I've had evidence of it through my life, I used to run. And at one point in every run, I would either become violently angry at something or sometimes it would just stop and feel like sobbing. And it's your hips, like, and they'll say in yoga all the time, you keep your and if you tell that to people, they'll just look at you like you're absolutely crazy. But, so what's been happening lately is, I did therapy. I've done a lot of work in the last 3 years on my own.
Yes.
To work on childhood stuff. But it's a complete process, right? And so this yin yoga class, I had this memory of when I was traveling, when I was 31, and I had just arrived in Paris. I'd never traveled by myself before. And I was attacked outside the Eiffel Tower by a group of men. And I screamed for my life and kicked, because I've been taking kickboxing lessons, and I dropped my back and checked in my core. And I was like, and I'd just seen this Oprah episode where this guy, Gavin DeBecker, who writes this book, The Gift of Fear, said they can't ever, if they take you from the location, you're dead.
That's right.
Like you cannot be taken from the location. So I was like, I thought I was being human trafficked. Really, they just a bunch of kids who wanted my money, but they were still, 9 of them, and they put their hand over my mouth. It was terrifying. And so I've told this story like that in a funny way. And funny stuff happened after, like a lady helped me, and I said, holy crap, I screamed. And this lady said, are you American? And it was just like the whole thing.
I love that bit the most. I was like, oh, guardian angel, old lady. So
she was so sweet. And then I went back to my hostel and I drank like 6 Heinekens and smoked a pack of cigarettes because I was like, oh. And then there was this drunk British guy, and he ended up like putting his foot in my room and wouldn't leave. And then he like peed in my garbage can. It was like the worst night of my life. I always tell this story in a funny way. Like I'm the butt of this story, right? Like, I thought they were human trafficking me, but really they were just trying to steal my money. Kind of like never really. I mean, I was terrified after that. The next day when I was walking, like, imagine I was by myself on my first trip. It's terrifying. I never let myself feel the terror of it or process it, or I drank right away, right? Like I drank that right away. I was hungover the next day. I just laid there and I started remembering that. And like, it was like coming out of me. And then I just was sobbing because I was like, you were so scared. You were so alone. And you portrayed that. You couldn't let yourself feel that pain and that fear and everything that left you with for the last 20 years.
20.
And so I just laid there feeling it. I just laid there like going, how did you portray that in your mind to yourself? And how was it really? And it was both things, like it's always both things, but I was bawling and bawling and bawling, but it just felt so good. And then I realized this is happening since that time. This has been happening like daily in this menomester. I am daily now remembering things that I've had a shame thing about, and then thinking, well, that wasn't really that way. Or like, even just this morning, I got upset and not upset. I just felt emotion went to a wedding with a guy, and I was the MC at the wedding. He was my boyfriend, but it wasn't going that great. And he was, while I was MCing, he was entertaining the whole table. And then after MCing, I talked to some people and I went looking for him. He was gone, and it was at a resort. So I went back to our room, and he's in his pajamas watching the hockey game. And I said, what are you doing? And he said, I drank too much. I'm really tired and I can't stay at the wedding. And I lost my mind. Like I lost it. Like I yelled at him, and I yelled at him, and I went back to the wedding, and I was fuming. And I phoned, I think, my sister-in-law, and she said, oh, you should never yell. She's sort of a not yelling person. So in my mind, that whole situation was me acting inappropriately and not being a cool girlfriend. And we broke up shortly after that. And these are happening to me daily, Kylie. Like these are like That was you brought him to that wedding and then he just abandoned you at that. I mean, this is a small thing, but I'm just saying that's another example of what I'm remembering. And I'm just letting myself off the hook kind of for some of these things. And I'm looking at each one differently.
Sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you. When you were talking about because I do the same thing with humor a lot around traumatic events. And I think, there's a defense mechanism, but it's also, as you were talking, I'm like, oh my God, I do that. And the word that's coming to my mind is like diminishing a very real human response to a traumatic event.
Yes.
Do you feel like that's the common thread of these things coming to the surface, of something that you've just never honestly actually gone, fuck, that was actually really hard?
Yes, 100% for almost everything. Almost everything I've turned into a story. So I didn't
it's protective.
Feel. Yeah. I never, whatever this is, I've never felt like I could actually feel the negative emotion, like the negative emotion, childhood stuff, whatever. I just wasn't able to name these emotions. I had to separate myself from them quickly. And so I would quickly reframe everything like this. And so even that story about that wedding, it's like me dressed up. He's in his, flannel pants, like eating chips, watching the game. And I'm telling that story funny, like I walk in and I pour myself a glass of wine and I'm yelling at him on my heels and like a crazy person.
Yeah. Like, and I'm like incensed on your behalf, but
right. Like,
I can imagine myself doing the same thing, because now that as you're talking, I'm like, I wonder whether there is a commonality in the childhood trauma thing. That's definitely been my past. I have often, and it's only been at this age where I actually haven't had the emotional bandwidth, or there's something that has changed, I don't know, hormonally or whatever, spiritually, whatever word you want to use, but I no longer have the ability to make up a different story about it. I'm just sitting with the actual story. And it's like, and there's a lot of this, like, there was justifiable anger that I never got to express, and justifiable feelings of betrayal that I never got to express. Even saying justifiable is ridiculous, because it's like, you feel whatever you feel.
It just is.
But yeah, it feels to me, I very much relate, which is probably why when I was listening to that, I was like, oh my God, this is happening to me too. See, again, I'm thinking, I'm losing my shit. This is not normal. And I'm like, no, it's cathartic in a way.
Well, they call it entertainment. Like, I realized I was doing this in my 30s when I was writing about dating. And I remember my brother saying, I don't know if this is good for you, Annie. Like, I don't know if this is good for you, because he's really good that way. And then I slowly realized, like, yeah, it's probably not. But in my social life with my friends, like, I realized this with dating a couple of years ago, that I was turning all of the hard things with dating, which are always hard because you like someone. I've never gotten married or had kids, so I've done a lot more relationshiping and dating than a lot of people. So, it's very hard. It's very hard to like someone and put yourself out there and then be rejected or have to reject them. That's a very difficult process that people don't want to, like, sit in, and I don't blame them. So there's all this stuff around it. But I always turned that into entertainment for all my friends and became sort of like the court jester of dating.
That's exactly what I had in my head. The joker.
So this is another thing that in the last couple of years, I'm like, these stories aren't for other people.
No.
So I'm doing a lot. Probably everyone's happy because I'm doing a lot less talking. Like, you know what I mean? Like entertain, like, oh, crazy Ann Marie. As I'm deconstructing this stuff about my personality, because oh, crazy, me. There's a lot to support that out there in our world as well. There's a lot to support the sort of crazy, hysterical woman.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't know how to separate it all, but it's creating this always constant. If you've done this too, like quickly reframing whatever hurt you into something funny. Yeah. Like that makes you an entertaining person. I don't think
I do that. And I also have really clearly identified, and again, like very much diving into a lot of trauma healing, working with people and also myself. The other thing that I do is like compare trauma. It's like, oh, I went through that, but someone else has gone through, they were blown up or they were whatever. So diminishing in a different way. Yes. But it's like, oh, that wasn't as hard. And then when this sort of pain has come, like on my birthday this year, my 48th birthday, I've talked about this already on the podcast. I ended up like sobbing about this story that was in my head about being unimportant. And it was just through a whole, and I've never used that language before, but that is definitely how I felt, very much so as a kid. And it was like the pain was from like, I feel like every single cell in my body was hurting, like emotional pain that was just all encompassing. And there was nothing for it but to just be in it. Like I didn't know what else to do, and this is a type of thing that like in my early days, I would have like binge eaten to try and shove down, right. Or, alcohol was never my thing. I've got friends that, alcohol's their thing, or recreational drugs, sex, whatever, like whatever your numbing mechanism is. But I won't do that to myself anymore. But also I just didn't feel like I could be anywhere else. But then it was like out of me. And I don't know, there was like it was cathartic, but also there's like a shift in the meaning of like, oh, that was as painful as what that presented. And I can also still choose to go through life without that meaning attached to me, type of thing. Like, like a powerful thing, right? That to me is such a gift. And I'm like, man, oh man, this is the other thing where sometimes, exactly like you were saying, I'm like, I just want to get to the end. I want that 12 months without a period where I can go, all right, it's done. And I'm like, oh no, there's work that, like, there is
every
actual, yeah, there's deconstruction to be done.
It sounds to me like, are you probably really put off by people who hold like a victim mentality?
Oh,
like,
I fucking hate it.
Right. So it's like,
you want to get me angry quickly, you tell me you have no power, and I'll just be like, fuck off.
But I think, and myself included, like it drives me. I've had friends, you've had the same job that you're complaining about for like 7 years, like leave, with a guy, like, but I think that might harm us from, right? Like, because it doesn't mean you're a victim to acknowledge the pain. It's two separate things. Yeah. I'm definitely learning that. And this, I don't want people to be scared, because a trainer just interviewed me and she's so switched on about everything. She's 35 and she's like, fucking hell, Ann Marie, like, oh my God.
I don't want to go there.
Like, I don't be scared. Please don't be scared. This is the gateway of your life. This is the bridge of your life. It's the most vital thing. You must feel it and feel all of it. But I think it is a good 10 years.
Yeah.
And, I think it is a good 10 years. And I was talking to someone recently who said 42 seems to be the magic number. And around that is, a lot of the current conversation that I have a problem with, that's so focused on hormone therapy, it has nothing to do with any opposition to hormone therapy. I'll probably try it when I work through some health problems that I'm having, or maybe even before, but it's just like this just very physical approach and external approach to what is all systems, mind, body, soul, consciousness shift.
Exactly. And there's a piece of me that wonders, I agree that I feel like I very strongly feel that this is a rite of passage, and it's just like it, and there is so much power and magic on the other side. And I hear people talking about that and how they feel so at home in themselves and unapologetic about who they are and all those beautiful things. And I'm like, sign me up. But I do worry that we are still looking for the magic pill in terms of, and I'm not like, I'm on progesterone, like I, use hormone therapy myself. I just wonder whether, when we're not talking about the whole kit and caboodle, that we're stealing away some of the portal or the, I don't know, I'm not using the right language, but do you get what I mean? Like it's
100%.
Yeah.
We're souls. Like, I don't know, whatever you believe about the world and energy and religion and anything, like we're souls. We're having some sort of human experience. People are going to roll their eyes, but until you tune into some of that and what you're start listening to yourself, I think that's an essential part of this. And some people are probably never going to do it.
Mm.
And there's a whole bunch of reasons why we're struggling physically and emotionally that don't have anything to do with that. And we can sort those out while honoring that energetic and spiritual aspect.
Yes.
And whatever soul, I read something the other day that was like, I listen to wacky people. I listen to everyone on all sides, which seems to be controversial these days. I'm a modern
No, I love it.
person, and I like to pay attention to wackadoodle over here and wackadoodle over here because I like to know what they're saying. But someone said your soul wants you to try all these things. Your soul wants you to, your soul wants your body to feel good. So take hormone therapy, like it was just a neat explanation because sometimes those spiritual people are really annoying.
It has to be all natural and all blah, blah, blah.
And I don't like that in any way, shape, or form. Like that's just not what any of this is about. But you're supposed to have the physical pleasures of life and the modern tools that are available. I think that makes all the sense in the world. But to just have those be like, some of the conversations I see about hormone therapy and the way women are like, this is like, there's a lot of hormone therapy shortages in the UK, and I see women like screaming about like women are losing it. Women are suffering. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like this is not it either.
No,
this is not cool either. Like to just be like, I need this thing or I won't be okay.
Yeah. Something outside of me needs to be, the controlling factor.
Even when I was 40, I think I was 48, 49, and I dislocated both of my shoulders doing yoga in puppy pose. It was horrible. And I had this really interesting situation because the yoga teacher was a complete twit and she wasn't helping me. And she was saying, just go like get some help. Like she wasn't like my shoulders were. And I had this moment of like, what am I going to do? What the fuck am I going to, I was on a helipad here. It was like a stunt yoga class they were launching ClassPass or one of those programs.
Hang on, you're on a helipad doing yoga.
On the 70th floor.
And you dislocate both your shoulders.
And I dislocated both my shoulders. I had been doing handstands. I had been like working my shoulders like crazy. And I since found out my shoulders are like a little bit deformed. So I probably shouldn't be doing any of that.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm sitting there with like, chicken arms, like non-functional arms. And this bimbo is telling me, just go get some help. Like she didn't want to stop the class. And I'm sitting there like, I can't. And I just was like, the wind was blowing. And I was like, they ended up calling off the class 10 minutes later because of the wind. I am sitting there. And then I just heard this really calm, quiet voice say, you can put them back. It was like the most calm, quiet thing I've ever heard. And I didn't argue. It was so like, you can put them back. And so I just took a huge breath and like Mel Gibson and like Lethal Weapon just like hurled my shoulders and they clicked back into space. And then I went to the back of the class and then they called it off and I was in shock and whatever. I didn't even mean to get into that story. That was a very pivotal moment though, because I've thought a lot about, was that an angel? Or was that my mom from heaven?
What did we come to? What do you reckon that?
It was just a very certain calm, knowledgeable part of me that was like, no one's coming and you can go back. It's physically possible. And I've talked to doctors after who don't believe me that they were orthopedic surgeons said like, what you're telling me is possible. It just, I believe you, but you have to understand it's very unlikely. Blah, blah. But, that was a digression. Sorry, Kylie. But
no.
I still can't believe that moment. But the reason I started to say externally, I had been doing maniacal workouts to deal again with my stress and I was doing yoga every day. I had done 2 workouts the day before. And I think I was planning another like workout after that yoga class. Like I still was doing that craziness. And so I'm like a bag of chips, right? Like once they were back, I still was not right for a very, very long time.
No, you wouldn't.
Everything hurt. I couldn't put my bra on. And I was like, what am I going to do? I can't do yoga. I can't do yoga. I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose my mind because I can't do yoga. And what I'm saying is and then I just said to myself, but the principles of yoga, the breathing, you can do those things. You can walk. And that was the beginning of me realizing that anything you have to do outside yourself to like be okay is maybe something that you should look at. I think.
I totally agree. And it is hilarious and perfect, as it always is, that we're having this conversation today, because I was actually told yesterday, no more yoga. And I'm a yoga teacher. So my initial reaction I have a genetic joint condition that's just been diagnosed yesterday. Not the worst case one, which is good because your blood vessels tend to just rupture, like your aorta,
Okay.
something that's pretty important. So
Yeah.
I've got the milder end of the spectrum, but he's like, yeah, I want you to be weight training and working on function, strength, and form to keep your skeleton where it should be. And the type of yoga and the amount of yoga and the depth of yoga and the deep binds and all of the things that you've been doing with your very hypermobile skeleton is the worst thing that you can be doing. My initial reaction, though, was, oh my God, I'm going to die. My second reaction was, no, you're not. Every other principle of yoga, all of the things that actually, because my connection to yoga is that's where I feel most like myself on a yoga mat. Like that's consistently, that's where I get access to that, where that voice, I believe, my higher self is with me on a yoga mat. That doesn't mean that it's only on a yoga mat, but also it's because of, all of the things that you do in yoga. You're mindful, you're present, you're moving your body, you're like all of those things, all that magic can still happen. It's just not with the extreme form.
You've actually been training for that this whole time. That's what I realized is like, when you're stopped from doing it, it's like, well, you've been training to do that. You know how to do that. You just think you need the yoga.
Yes.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would probably say this has happened for a reason. Like
yeah, absolutely.
You're being put into the uncomfortable part of yourself.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to go back to saying the things outside yourself. We all need things outside ourselves, right? Like if you need HRT, you need HRT. If you need medication, you need medication. Yeah. I'd be upset about a lot of my supplements, but just anything that you're like, it's like,
yes,
I think life is easier if you can try and let some of those things go.
Hey, gorgeous. We interrupt this gold for a delicious invitation. If your whole body has been whispering more lately, more voice, more truth, more satisfaction, more clients of the soulmate variety, more cash, more you, then this invitation is for you. Potent, my sister mind is officially open. This is my high touch, holy fuck, I'm ready sister mind for rebels in good girl clothing who are done outsourcing their power and diluting their magic to fit into someone else's business formula. If you have been craving a space where your strategy, your voice, and your energy all get to be offered, honored, refined, and amplified, this is it. Inside of Potent, you'll get my eyes on your business every single week, copy mentoring, and that is for brand copy and content storytelling that turns your truth into client catnip, energetic recalibration that helps you unhook old learned limitation patterns, keeping you quiet, not being seen, not being heard, real-time, high-touch, one-on-one coaching that actually sees the bigness of your vision, and the kind of sisterhood that does not flinch when you show up in your full, messy, brilliant, phoenix rising from the ashes glory. This isn't surface level support. It's deep, potent, paradigm shifting work that changes who you are as a woman in business and a woman in life. We start in August. Early open access is open right now. For the month of June 2025, inside of this early access open doors period, you will receive juicy bonuses, extended payment plans, and access immediately to my entire library of storytelling gold. You'll find all the juicy details at kyliepatchett.com/potent. And we fill spaces, and there's only 10 of them, and more than likely only 5 by the time you listen to this, because by that time I will have offered them to the existing cohort, the beautiful original OG circle. We do actually take applications on a first come, first served basis. So come and apply, and let's get back to the magic of the episode. Well, I think it's like any addiction though, right? Like just because they're kind of in inverted commas good things, we think that they're more healthy to be addicted to. And it's like, no, if you believe that you can't do or be something outside of this thing, it's not the thing that's giving you, and yes, okay. And like you're saying, there's a caveat, obviously, if you've got XYZ condition and you need something to keep your heart pumped, of course. But what we're talking about is that addiction to the extremes, I think, is really fun. Which actually brings me to something that so going from someone who did do all of that extreme stuff, how has your self-care in inverted commas shifted through this perimenopause kind of journey? So at what age were you when you were doing, was this your early 40s when you were doing that sort of real extreme?
My whole 40s. I like when I was in my early 40s and that happened with the adrenal exhaustion, I had to really rejig. And I did. And I saw a naturopath who said, you need to have joy in your life. Like you're going to get really sick if you don't do that. And so I did rejig. And then, but what ended up happening is when I became a freelancer again, it was like having to prove, I have this like very, very hard on myself. So I had to prove myself. I had lost my job. So I had to prove myself and be a success. And then as part of all of that, being hard on myself, it's a cycle. So I was like, and I'm right about health and wellness. I get invited to a lot of things. I got caught up when I started editing a health and wellness site. I got caught up a little bit. I felt like a bit of a fraud because I'm like, I'm not one of these ripped people. And so I got caught up a little bit in like, I need to be more look the part, I guess.
Yeah, gotcha.
But I can't work out like that anymore because, I've not only it's a very turbulent time in menopause and perimenopause. I don't have the energy that I did. And I've had I've had long-standing gut issues that are catching up with me. And I have a thyroid issue and I'm dealing with a lot of, you can just get really out of balance. And I've had Hashimoto's. I just got diagnosed with that. I'm healing it. Yeah. I just can't. I really am walking. I'm doing some light yoga. I'm doing some light weights, like 20-minute workouts and it's fine. Like it's what my body wants, and I was saying to myself the other day, like, I feel like running because I felt really good one day and I'm like, you can run again. Like,
it's not off limits.
But it feels okay. It feels okay now. I feel these are one of the things that's a lot settles down. Like I can feel it. If this is what happens and it stays like this and it gets better, then it is. I always say it's going somewhere good, then it is because
yes, I love that. You say, it's messy.
Caring way less about like
good
relationships that are irritating or I'm just letting them go.
Yeah.
I don't feel the need to socialize as much. Like I feel a bit cavey, hermity.
I wrote a post exactly about that yesterday. I was like, if you need me, I'll be in my itchy bitchy brave cave because that's what I feel like. Yeah. I just interviewed Kate Codrington a little while ago, and she said when she was in perimenopause, she felt everything was scratchy. And I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what it is. I feel like everything is itching or irritable. And I wrote a post about it yesterday, just like my husband and I have a bike. I love being on the motorbike. We went out 2 days ago. I couldn't stand the feeling of the jacket on me. I didn't like the wind in my face, which I usually love. I didn't like the way that even just sitting on the bike, like everything was irritating me. My dogs were sitting next to me and I was like, will you stop breathing like that? And I was like,
you see this all the time. All these videos on TikTok, like I've got to get this clothes off. I'm like itching, like I'm hot. I'm like, my husband's chewing, like it's very crazy. And I'm not so versed in what's actually going on because there are names for all these things. And I see the names being given to them and I don't know how I feel about it because I think a lot of it's temporary and,
I do too.
I'm not sure about, but I just read Wise Power by Alexander.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's so good. And they just talk about the veil between our physical and like spiritual selves is so much thinner. And I just wonder if like the actual realness of the world is just like irritating.
It's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable to us.
Yes. And the cave thing that you just said, that's exactly how I feel. It's like, I don't want to go, like we had, I live in a little country town in Queensland and we had our local like agricultural show last weekend. Okay. Every other year I would have gone, would have listened, watched the bull riding, listened to the music, caught up with friends.
I want to go to that.
Well, I didn't. You can. My husband came home and he's like, we're going to go up to the show. And I was like, fuck no.
Yeah.
I don't want to be around people. I don't want to have to wear jeans. I don't want to have to be in the rain. I don't want to be near noise. I don't want to be near lights. And I don't want to be near. He was just like, okay, maybe I'll just go by myself. And I'm like, off you go. Yeah. So I feel like that's part of it's just like I keep on saying this, Mother Nature knows her shit.
Yeah.
If we have all of these things that just make us more inward facing and quieter and more restful, for me, definitely just being more quiet and sleeping a lot more, being by myself a lot more. I've bought myself really good earplugs and an eye mask. And like, I literally just like, I just don't want to sense anything. And I think that is, and the other sense that I have is it's like, there's this wise woman rising up, and for me to be even able to sense that she's there, I don't want the world demanding my attention.
Oh,
that's what I feel. It's
amazing.
Like.
Yeah.
So the cave thing.
That is beautiful. So when you think about it, we need to take away some of that busyness to tend to the physical changes that are happening. That just makes sense. So you're just honoring that. Yeah. And then my friend's a neuroscientist, and she's been very interested. She's much younger. She's 30, but she's become fascinated since I've been talking about it. And I was saying about my general irritation with some people who have always irritated me, and now it's like here.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm talking nonsense. They're talking nonsense. They're saying things that I don't believe. They're trying to get me to do things that they do.
Yep.
And I said, I just can't handle it. And she said, well, it makes sense to me because your brain is so busy. It's undergoing an upgrade and you don't have any mental energy for it.
You literally don't.
But what bothers me about a lot of the conversation online is women will frame this. So we're framing it and we're understanding that this is a temporary transition and looking at it, a temporary transition. Yeah. And we'll support ourselves in any way we need to through it. And then it will resolve. But so much of the conversation is people who aren't looking at it like a temporary transition. They're looking at it as, I'm not myself. I lost myself. And I get it, because there are points where I'm like, am I always going to just want to be in my apartment and not go out? I don't think that's true. I think this is a moment in time. This is a period of time, and I'm going to honor it. I'm, a social person. So if you're looking at this as like a terrible loss, a terrible shift, a terrible change, your husband perhaps is like, what's going on with you? Your kid, what's going on with you? Your friends are treating you. Then of course, and I heard someone in a podcast say like, there's just a really big movement to try to get back to where we are, get back to, get back. And if you're trying to get back, like I think once you let it go, and I do it too, right? Like I'm letting it go, but if I could get back to the health, get forward, like, let's get forward.
I agree. I had a moment the other day where I was like I woke up this morning and I was so tired. Like I had a disturbed sleep, but I was so tired. And I was like tired to the point where I couldn't just go, come on, let's just go grab a coffee. And once you get started, you'll be right. Like literally just no energy whatsoever. And I was just like, when am I ever going to feel like confident and motivated again? And I did have a moment of like, I'm like, no, remember, this is almost like I didn't give birth naturally to either of my kids, but I have a sense that it's like at the end of it, we've rebirthed ourselves. And it's fucking painful. And like they always say about natural births, like, at the end of it, you'll have a baby and you'll forget about it all. I feel like that's what might happen with this. Like maybe if I interviewed you in another year, if this is your final year, you'll be like, oh, don't worry about it. You'll be like out the other side, or, and I know not every single symptom resolves itself necessarily, but I do think you've hit a nail on the head. It's like, I want us to have real conversations about what people are going through, but I also want them to be with the knowledge that this is a transition point. Yeah. It's not the end of something.
This isn't all for nothing. It's just not supposed, there's a lot of conversation around this isn't supposed to be happening. This shouldn't be happening. You can erase this. You can fill all of these holes. You can get yourself back. And there's a number of influencers who've had enormous success with telling those tropes and those stories. And I'm very concerned about all of that. We're not making stuff up here. There's loads of evidence for this. There's loads of scientific evidence for the fact that it's temporary. Loads of evidence in the world where there's women living their lives and going about, that didn't die of menopause, didn't fall apart.
No.
Some women don't, in Wise Power, they say some women don't make it through this transition. And some people, there are suicides, and we know that this age period, 46 to 54, has the highest suicide rate. But when those, I'm really careful about stats now. I always have been, because I'm a journalist and I know what happens with these stats. So that stat is always repeated, right? This is the highest age. But it's very important to remember that it's very, very, very rare, and that the actual suicide rate has been falling for the last couple of decades, and that it's always presented in a sort of shocking and sensational way. But some women don't. I loved how they just wrote it in the book. Like, some women don't make it through. And I think a lot about, I really love this heroine, and now I can't remember her name. Oh my God, she's my favorite heroine of all time. Oh, I can't remember. You this out.
Come back.
They made a movie with Nicole Kidman about it. Can I just go look?
Of course.
Oh my God, it will make me crazy if I don't know. Oh, of course.
While you're doing that, I'm going to look up something that I wanted to read to you. So that's perfect.
Just on the note of suicide, which is always held up as like how at risk we are, and how serious this is, and how this seems to be, that statistic is put forward as like, this is worsening and this is reaching a crisis point, when yes, it is the highest.
Yes, that is a fact.
Age group. That is a fact, but it's not like the rate of it is rising in any way, in any quantifiable way that I understand. But some women don't make it through this stage, as some people don't make it through lots of stages. Gertrude Bell is one of my heroines. And she moved out to the Middle East and ended up being an explorer, and sort of left high society British life. They made a terrible movie about it with Nicole Kidman. There's a couple of really good documentaries. And she ended up being like pivotal in the drawing of the Middle East, which you can say whatever you want about that. She ended up in Iraq, and she died at 55. And I was reading her biography, and then like 2 a.m. I was like, no. And years ago, she was very sick. She smoked like a chimney, and she was on a lot of medication. And some people think that she committed suicide. She had 2 really sad, broken hearts or whatever. And I always think of her when I hear the suicide, and I always wonder, like, was she a person who didn't make it? Did she sort of take an exit or whatever? All that stuff is true, but too many people are drawing a direct line between menopause and disease, menopause and shouldn't be happening. Menopause is something to fix. Menopause is something, you don't have to have it. You don't have to have any.
But do you not think that that's just the natural conclusion to this? Like, you don't ever need to have your period. You can be on the birth control pill for the entire, life.
100%,
and never, it's like, it's more of the same, but just in a different
have to be like a woman.
you don't have to, the inconvenience of having a cycle. And I'm like, what about the magic of having the cycle? And that, that's a whole other conversation. I too loved that book. And I actually was thinking, when you said about reading that book, I read it when we were away over Christmas, and it was just my husband and I came out and I said, so do you want to know the good news? And he's like, sure. And I'm like, probably only got about 10 more years of this. And he's like, I was like, yeah, lucky you've got a big shed, hey. But I love the way that they write and speak about because there's a lot of wisdom, I feel like, in that separation time that they talk about. Actually, I don't know whether I might be getting Second Spring and Wise Power mixed up, because I read them across the same period.
Yeah, and Kate worked with them.
Yes, yeah. So similar sort of approaches anyway, but that real separation of like the itchiness. I mean, really, that's what the separation is. It's like, and I very much relate to the, people that you have been able to tolerate but haven't been that big a fan of. Now you're like, ugh. I actually only just read Essentialism, which is weird because it's been out for yonks and yonks, but I've got this, it's a really good book. It's very, very, but I've got this new term in my head that's perissentialism. And it's the same thing. It's just basically the book is about cutting out all the stuff that you really don't want to do, but it's like a peri-powered version of that. And it's literally like what do I actually want to be spending my precious time and resources, because they are, less robust at this point in time. But I do love the fact that speaking to people that have gone through menopause, it's like, yes, it does come back. You do notice that on the flip side, there's also this re-entry to this time where, not to the point where you're going back to your 20s or 30s of like, bouncing around all over the place with unlimited energy. And I think that is probably not a bad thing either. But it's just like, coming out the other side. Yeah, exactly.
And you mentioned, sorry, just one thing. You mentioned the pill, and you mentioned that you don't even have to have a cycle. And I think it's very, very similar. The conversation is very, very, I just read Sweetening the Pill. It's a 2013 book by Holly Griggs Ball. And whatever you think of the pill, it's very unfashionable and it's dangerous to criticize it in any way.
Yes.
But, honoring your cycle and honoring this are important, I think.
And also, like I said before, I don't believe Mother Nature makes any mistakes. So I did my training in sleep and respiratory medicine, and then went into genetics and forensic biology and stuff. And one of the things that I learned in the hospital environment very quickly was we are so, and this is not new news, and this is back in the 90s, like this is ancient history, but the silos of like, you go to a heart doctor, and then you go to your joints doctor, and then you go to a psychiatrist, completely separate. Never the twain shall meet. We never look at the system as a whole. And then when I was like, this cannot be right, I went on this crazy research and also training in traditional Chinese medicine. And as soon as I understood that theory of looking at us as a whole, I was like, oh my God, it's all about the balance. And we can't just interrupt the balance and not expect that there's an equal and opposite reaction in some way. So it's like, if you stop something that's a natural cycle, something else will go out of balance. It has to, like the system itself has to maintain homeostasis. So I very much believe it's like, please don't disconnect yourself from. I just want to read you something. I know we've probably labored on this point, but someone else that I interviewed the other day described this. She said, this is a time of lying still on the cool forest floor, covered in fallen leaves, held by earth and growing down roots. We're gathering the threads of ourselves, finding our way back home. And she's post-menopausal. And this is Janet McGeever, a friend of mine on the sunny coast. She has written a book with Diana Richardson, big in the tantric world, about tantra and intimacy and menopause. And I just want to sit at her feet and so a couple of her knowledge. That's one of those people. She's 62, but that is something that if you are in the messy middle and you're feeling like it'll never end and there's no purpose to it, I just feel like that, to me, soothes me. It just gives me a little bit of peace.
I want to lay there.
Yeah, me too.
I really love lying on the ground, by the way. Like, I'm the crazy. I go to my park and walk with my shoes off, and then I lie on the ground, and I know I look crazy, and I don't care. It makes me feel so good. And it's everything I hear about grounding is like, I think it's so vital at this point in time.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Particularly with the anxiety and the heart palpitations and the ungroundedness. I actually literally was doing it this morning. I was like, I've got nothing in the tank, so I'm just going to lie flat on my yoga mat. And I was face down because I like that hard against ground. And I was just like, oh, so good. So good, so good. I don't know what this magic is, but it's magic. Something that we haven't talked about, and I think it's a perfect tying it all together. You wrote a post the other day about perimenopause being like the kitchen clean out analogy. Can you talk us through that? Because I just think that's such a good, I love the imagery of this.
Yeah. Well, one book I've read that I loved was Dr. Luann Breisendien's a neuroscientist, and she wrote a book called The Upgrade. She's an American.
Yes. You've talked about that a few times on your podcast, and I haven't got it yet.
Well, I loved it because again, this is always framed the downgrade we're having in our brain, the transition and the loss of brain power, which is, I think, up to 25% at this time, which is where you're missing the words and where you're forgetting things, is also being linked directly to dementia and Alzheimer's. Like, it seems to be people are creating a direct line.
Yeah, which there isn't.
There are all sorts of things that happen during perimenopause and menopause that that make us out of balance.
Mm.
And there are links within it, but menopause doesn't cause dementia.
Mm.
Menopause doesn't cause cardiovascular disease.
No.
Like it just doesn't. It's just very, very, very complicated. But there's a lot of people and there's a lot to be gained by drawing those distinct lines. So it's very scary when you lose your memory or whatever. But what I love about Dr. Bryson is she very clearly describes this. And she's also gone through menopause. It's a very clear description of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And when she sort of talks all about how you're sort of upgrading your brain. And I started thinking about when I clean out my kitchen and why you don't clean out your kitchen, because you know that you're going to want to pull everything out and you don't want to do that one day. Like who wants to say Saturday, I'm going to pull out, you end up doing it. I saw Mel Robbins just did it the other day. Like she went to go clean her dishwasher out and then her whole kitchen was apart. And she said, this
exactly
is
what
she said, this is ADHD. Well, I don't think it's ADHD. I mean, maybe, but like really you do it. You pull everything out. It's a complete disaster, but you're doing it because you're putting everything back. Meticulously, you're getting rid of things. You're cleaning out that drawer that you don't have a junk drawer anymore. You get rid of the stuff. And when it's back together, it is so awesome. Yeah. Like you're literally in your kitchen. You're like, I love being in this kitchen.
Yes. Yeah.
I love, oh my God, look at these. I put them there. I'm so smart. And so I just feel like that's what it's like, because I've been saying to people, I don't know what end is up. I don't know what's going on, but I feel things are all pulled out, and I feel that they're all going to, from what people tell me, it's all going to be put back together.
Yes. And
it's not going to be perfect because nothing is ever perfect, but everyone really resonated with that.
I loved it.
They really,
because I was like, straight away I went to, because I just did this like literally within the last couple of weeks. I didn't go to the dishwasher, but I went to get something out of our third drawer, which is always the junk drawer. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. And I started like pulling things out, and then the entire kitchen, I just pulled everything out of every cupboard and then you have this inevitable time where you're like, it's all out. I don't know what I want to keep. I don't know what I should be filing where. It's all really messy. I wish I had never started. And I was like, I
wish I'd never started. I don't want this to be happening. Like, I don't know
want
what
it to be happening.
The middle, right? It's like, you do, oh, God, why did I do this? I'm so tired. I don't feel like it. Mm-hmm. But if you persevere, which we do, almost all of us persevere in one way or the other. And with an eye, you have an eye that you're going to get through this.
Yeah.
And you've done it on every single hard thing that's happened to you so far, like every single thing you've found your way out of. And this is just, I think, another hill you have to climb or whatever.
So true.
I'm just very conscious that I don't want to get in, like, a lot of what I see on social media, I don't love, but I don't want to like argue with it. Or I'm not like the videos about, all the symptoms are funny, but they're not funny to me anymore. And a lot of the videos are entertainment. When I went into it, I'm like, I hate a lot of this humor, chin hairs and all this stuff. It's just not helpful. It's not funny either.
Well, it's diminishing again. It's the same pattern we were talking about.
It's good humor. It's not funny, but it's also diminishing. And it's just, it's like, those are just tropes. Like, I know people have developed chin hair, but I've had hairs on my chin since I was 30 as well.
You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I do not, weirdly, for someone who's got so much hair on her head, I have not got hair anywhere I shouldn't so far. I shouldn't say that out loud. I'll probably wake up tomorrow and I'll be like, I've got a full beard. I've just wished it on myself. On that note, can you help anyone who hasn't come across your actual platform, Hot Flash Inc.? Can you talk about that? So you've got Substack, you've also got a podcast. Yes, please tell us, because I love it because obviously as a journalist who is very used to sifting through, the expert evidence, scientific literature, papers, etc., and then not sensationalizing and not just going statistic, everyone's dying. That I love the balanced point of view that you have. But yeah, can you talk about what you? Well,
it's interesting being like a soul. I didn't reckon as anything you embark on that you're excited about. You don't think of everything that will happen. So it's difficult to do it on my own, right? Like it is very difficult, and I don't have an editor. I realize how often I've had editors to bounce things off of. But I have been running another platform for a couple of years where I also am not working with other journalists. So it's okay. It's just sometimes, because a doctor just came at me about a podcast and I was like, look, hey, this is what she said. And I didn't hear. And that's usually what happens when people come.
Yeah.
didn't mean to get into this. It's as a journalist, you're always terrified of making a mistake. And I have to tell myself, I'll probably make a mistake and then I'll just apologize for it. It's fine. So I have Substack, which is, it's a newsletter. It's a free newsletter in the weekend, but I also have a paid subscription where I just send out more info. Sometimes I've done a video. I send out sneak peeks of my podcast with like an edited transcript. Sometimes I write essays. I have a podcast every week. I interview experts on that. I'm branching out into more of the emotional stuff. And I'm not one of these people who's like, I won't speak to that person or I won't speak to that person. We're in a sort of a climate where there's people who are appropriate and there's people who are inappropriate and things that are appropriate. I'll talk about, I went into this space to have it be mainstream to holistic. And if that includes someone who's going to talk to me about, I don't know what, something that people consider woo-woo, like I'll do it responsibly.
Yes.
And then all the social media. And then we have a menopause shift summit every June. We had it last June and we're going to have it again. I have that with a partner. And I can't stand, irresponsible conveying of information. And I try to be as careful as I can, obviously. Some things I meant.
Yeah, you are very careful. And I also love that even on your Instagram, it's like, I have 27 years experience reporting and I also still could very well make a mistake. And if I do, I will apologize for it and correct myself. I mean, that really is all that any of us can do. So I don't know why we try and hold people to a higher standard than that, because it's like, well, we're all human.
I see crazy things all the time that are not right. So that's one of the weird things in the space, Kylie, is that I've been researching it enough that when I'm interviewing people, I'm like, whoa, that is not right. That is not, like, people trust doctors. Doctors are great. Doctors have a lot of information. Doctors are conduits and they can help, but doctors have a lot of blind spots.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was similarly listening to something the other day and, my sleep training is a very like old, I wouldn't nowhere near say that I'm a specialist in sleep anymore. But I was listening to a podcast where someone was talking about sleep and I was just like, that is just flat out biologically incorrect and has been proven to be incorrect for 30 years. And that's what worries me about the social media space, is that information is so easy to get to. And there's so many experts, but it's like, please stay in your own lane and your own scope of expertise and make sure that it is current.
The big problem I find in menopause is, and it's in everything, where there are just illusory truths, things repeated so often that they seem like they're fact, and they're in every, you hear those all the time. So in menopause, there's just a whole bunch of them, and just repeat them. Scientists repeat them. And so like, you really just can't take anything at face value. Menopause, we didn't used to go through menopause. We just started going through menopause 100 years ago. Couldn't be more of a lie. Like, it's just if we used to die at 50, there would be no grandmothers.
That's what I was like. Who is writing this shit?
It's in the Bible. Sarah, it's like mentions that in the book of Genesis that she went through menopause. Aristotle spoke about it. It was named 200 years ago. But that's something that's always named. That's something that's always said. And something else that drives me crazy is, and I just saw it in a scientific paper yesterday, only humans and whales go through menopause.
Oh, yes. I know. I'm like, that's not true.
Not true. And I think it's very convenient because then it's convenient to the narrative of this shouldn't be happening and it's something you can fix. But there's medical studies, elephants, giraffes.
Yeah, giraffes. I just saw the other day. I didn't realize giraffes.
I found a vet talking about dogs. Which take a lot. I've got to track that down. And then I love camels. So I looked up camels the other day and found a camel researcher in Dubai. And in one of her papers, she just matter of factly states after camels go through menopause. Like, I've contacted her. I got to talk to her. The reason I get so excited about this is because, like, this is very natural.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but these things are repeated on the cover of the Telegraph in columns by people who should just, because I get it. You believe that that's a fact and you can only check so many facts, but you really have to check every fact because when you switch,
Yeah. You're just reminding me, I do ghostwriting, have done for quite some time, and I write mainly in the expertise of like mindset, perspective, etc. And the book that I just finished is about biases in belief systems. And that is one of them. It's if something's repeated often enough, then it becomes this shared belief system. And the other thing that I really love, which is so pertinent to social media expertise, is I can't even remember what it's called, so I won't be doing it justice. But there's very well-grounded research that says if you say to me your opinion is camels don't go through menopause, if I say to you, oh, can you just tell me what do you base that on, and you have to explain it to me, you will change your belief system almost immediately. But we don't do that because I do. I'm always questioning. I think that's part of my nature. But I think
the loudest people don't.
yeah, exactly. And there's too many people that think, oh, it's on social media, therefore it must be true. It's the same sort of mindset as like when my dad was very old school, was 55 when I was born. And if it was written in our local paper, it was absolutely true. And I'm like, no, because I used to work in courts, in forensic where, they're reporting on things. And I'm like, I'm working that case and it is not true. But because it's seen as trusted information, it therefore is automatically true. And it's just like, last question. I know we've gone very long, but would you like to say anything about the latest celebrity? Not specific celebrity. I'm not into bashing people, but do you have concerns about the types of information that's out there in menopause and perimenopause that is being sprouted by celebrity experts? Because there's been,
Well, I'm concerned that it's becoming, and you never would have thought of this, but it's becoming in the UK particularly a way to sort of like get a headline and a cover story is to talk about your menopause. And I'm concerned about the headline I see over and over, which is, I thought I had early onset dementia. I see that headline over and over. Well, we all worry about that, but I'm just worried about what that does to the conversation.
Yeah.
And, I don't have the same concern about celebrities that in some ways that other people do. Like, I'm not that bothered by Gwyneth Paltrow trying rectal ozone therapy. I know a lot of people are.
Not that one. The nutrition. Yeah.
Yeah. The nutrition stuff is
the latest stuff. My concern about the latest stuff, given you've said her name, I'll just, is that I have had an eating disorder and I feel that is incredibly damaging.
Right.
Potentially to people that have already got a tendency or will develop very quickly after some amazing celebrity says, I only eat, 200 calories a day. And
she doesn't eat during the day.
She eats bone broth. I honestly, I haven't watched the whole thing. So I really,
I've only heard clips. I got to listen to the whole thing, because what I'm more concerned about, Kylie, than any of this is that no one actually listens or watches the actual thing and gets what actually was said. That's what I'm more concerned about. It's like, I'd like to listen to that, because most of the time when I go and actually check it out for myself, that's not what was said. And our entire world is based now on some headlines that people get, and they're forming an opinion. And I do this myself on things that I don't have time to look at. So I'm not depending.
I'm literally doing it in that case.
No, and I don't mean we all do. We don't have time. Yeah. And, I get a bunch of newsletters, so I'll form an opinion just on like what the newsletter headline said. So actually, that's what I'm more concerned about than anything else, is that people are forming opinions on bits of information and not going to the actual full conversation and finding out what was said. Because oftentimes when you go, it wasn't. And people are being vilified and canceled. And Gwyneth Paltrow will be fine, like she's
of course she will. Yeah.
Good businesswoman. And by the way, everyone, I made a video about this and I don't know whether I'll post it. Everyone is playing right into her hands. Every time you mention her name, there is no bad press. She knows exactly what she's doing. And that's just more money in her pocket. And so when all the people like scream and they're making all these angry videos, I laugh, because I'm like, you don't even realize what you're doing.
She's just saying,
you know what you're doing, but you're not doing. So I'm more concerned about the snippets of everything.
Yeah.
Snippets of information.
Yeah. Anything out of context is not a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're right about food, because that is very pervasive. People need to be
I'm very concerned. I know I listened to the Kate Deering episode that you just had about the pro-metabolic movement, and you can say whatever you like about whatever. Diets are diets are diets. Pro-metabolic is a different way of looking at things. I don't know enough about it to comment on it, but I think really for me, I feel that the diet culture and the ocean we've swum in for a good many years has done a lot of harm. And I do think that a lot of what we are physically experiencing at this time in our lives is directly to do with imbalances that are caused by damage we did earlier on.
Oh, 100%. The other thing I'm concerned about is I'm really, plugged into the health and wellness world here in the UAE, and that's people from all over the world.
Yes.
And there is like a ton of disordered eating and exercise in the people that you see that are glistening images of health, but behind the surface, there's a lot of problems there. That's what people don't realize. I used to think all people must have everything sorted. And I think a lot of those eating disorders become sort of an orthorexia.
Yes, absolutely.
And like a constant search for the perfect supplement and the perfect balance and the continuous glucose monitor, and all that stuff can be helpful. But I feel like that is very concerning to me. That's not healthy. Nothing.
Well, it's like the addiction, exactly what we were talking about before. Yeah, the extremes and the obsessiveness and whatever takes us outside of our own knowing. There you go. Thank you. This has been a beautiful, 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 beautiful connection. Thank you. Can you tell everyone that's listening where to find Hot Flash Inc. the easiest online?
Okay. So it's Hot Flash Inc. everywhere. Like my website is Hot Flash Inc. If you go to Substack, it's Hot Flash Inc. I have the link tree in my bio on Instagram. It's all Hot Flash.
Perfect. And just for our Aussie listeners, we are saying flash, not flush, because we call them hot flush. So it's FLASH. That's what we say. Get it if it says flush.
But this has been beautiful. I never dreamed when I launched this. So, you don't always think of the good things. And I have the most incredible conversations with people that I never would have connected with.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel. I love it. I love it. I get off every podcast and I'm like, whoa, it was so good. Thank you so much for your time. I've most enjoyed it. Hello, beautiful. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. And I trust you receive some golden nuggets or key takeaways that will help you to create the space and grace to more gently traverse this perimenopausal transition. I know that sometimes these midlife years feel rather messy, but they do have a magical purpose. We are literally smack bang in the middle of a powerful, potent, sometimes painful portal, the rite of passage of perimenopause. And the way I see that is that it's a bridge between our younger, energetic, dating and mating, climbing the ladder, easily able to juggle all the balls self, and our older, wiser, take no bullshit, deeply anchored in our own internal guidance, free of obligation, duty, roles and responsibilities that no longer fit us, and way more powerful wise woman within. And what's the wise woman doing right now? She's calling you to gently, patiently cradle yourself whilst you burn down what no longer serves, whilst you honor your needs, while you connect and repattern old limiting things, and you surrender to this deep midlife metamorphosis. I have created something really special for us to get together online every month, completely free. They're called the Soothe Sessions, and it's a chance to join me to create the space and the grace to calm your mind, soothe your nervous system, and learn to feel really safe in your body so that you can let the wise woman have her way with you. We'll join online every month for 90 minutes, and the sessions will include a little bit of a fundamental background info about this powerful portal of perimenopause. I'll share with you a simple and effective tool from my toolbox to offer you some self-soothing when this tricky transition starts to get you down. And my toolbox includes everything from sleep science to energetic medicine, body work, shiatsu, traditional Chinese medicine, oriental psychology, yoga, meditation, breath work, all sorts of weird and wonderful East meets West goodness. I'll also offer you a high quality question for your self-awareness and growth. And then perhaps most delicious of all, a super relaxing 20-minute restorative yoga or yoga nidra to allow you the space and grace to integrate what you've learnt. You will find everything about the Soothe sessions underneath the show notes in all the podcast platforms and also on my website at kyliepatchett.com.au under free monthly masterclass. I hope you will take the opportunity to join me. I'd love to meet more of you live, and I will be swapping the time zones around from evening to early morning Australian time so that everyone around the world, including the 29 countries that Zoom on in across Australia and the Asia Pacific region and Europe and the Americas, and even Iceland, which I've just seen today, which is pretty cool. So yeah, the time zones will actually change so that they'll be good for you. And if you register, there will always be a replay. So I hope you'll join me. Here's to you going gently through this midlife metamorphosis, and have a beautiful day. Thanks so much for tuning into another episode, and I trust you're walking away with inspiration, aha, maybe some chiropractic adjustments of the soul where you've realized perhaps some ways that you're getting in your own way, or something that needs to be healed, or something that's calling to you that your heart really, really wants to birth or create or step into in this second cycle of life. And if that's you, I am throwing my arms wide open and inviting you to check out all of the ways that we could potentially partner together at kyliepatchett.com.au. That's my website for the podcast, and also one-on-one and group programs in midlife mentorship, yoga and breath work in specifically designed menopause classes online, and also super excitingly, a list of retreats around Australia that I have been blessed to partner with some pretty darn spectacular humans who also help midlife mavens through this transition point. So if you are looking for some support, some community, some tools, just a safe place to actually reconnect to who you are, what you want, and come home to your own power and magnificence, I would love to welcome you into any one of those containers. So head on over to kyliepatchett.com.au, and I will be back in your ears very, very soon.